Hello there. What is going on, everybody? Could we be seeing a return of Halo fleet battles, or at least a very similar game or spiritual successor? We're going to talk about that in today's video because there has been some interesting news and some recent developments regarding Halo and new Halo games. This is what we're going to talk about in today's video. If you're interested in spaceship games, tabletop miniatures games, anything in between, this is a great place. We talk a lot about tabletop gaming, and I'd love to have you stick around. We're doing a new round of the $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my other videos. It's as simple as that. Love to have you stick around. We have also some great sponsor deals as well. Battle Foam. And also we have some amazing Game Toppers discounts from mats and accessories. Definitely check the links in the description below. You can check out those and save some awesome savings. So, Halo fleet battles. A lot of people who I've covered a lot of spaceship games like Star Wars X-Wing, Snapships Tactics, Star Wars Armada, Star Trek Into the Unknown, and everything in between. Halo Fleet Battles is one of those games I've never played. It had a short-lived time. It came out in 2015, and then Spartan Games kind of shut down towards the end of 2017. There's not a whole lot of official product, and when there is, it's hard to get a hold of it. It was pretty rare, but this is one of those games that lives on in community creations, and communities continue to run this game. There's 3D printing, there's all of that. But could it be coming back? Probably not in its exact form, but this game was very beloved. We've even seen people kind of run X-Wing versions of this, Star Wars Armada versions of this. I know there's been a lot of custom content for Star Wars Armada, people running Halo fleet battles type ships. I've even played against like a Covenant, I think it was a UNSC fleet that somebody had 3D printed and used proxies for. Obviously a beloved universe, definitely a beloved game that the community really clung to, and it did kind of look to me, always looked like it was like a kind of a cross between X-Wing and Armada, where it was using more capital ships, but on smaller X-Wing style bases, which gave it kind of a good blend between form and function, which is kind of how it seems to me from somebody who admittedly hasn't ever had the chance to play this game. That being said, there is an opportunity for it to come back. Mantic, who has had a lot of success with Halo Flashpoint, has recently announced that they've had a new agreement with Halo Studios. They've basically, when you have kind of a licensing agreement, you usually have, it's not an indefinite license agreement. These things have to be renewed. They same thing when you kind of bid on a contract and have to recompete periodically. They announced a new agreement, a long-term kind of refueling and a reconfirmation of Halo Studios being very happy with them, and they've signed up for an enhanced partnership. Not only does this mean more for Halo Flashpoint, and I talked about this in a recent video, but one thing that I talked about kind of lightly that I want to talk about more is that they announced more Halo games. They didn't say anything in particular, like no specific games had been said. So this could mean a lot of different things. This could mean that we're going to see, more Spartans. This could mean that we're going to see like tanks and vehicles on the ground and things like that, ghosts and banshees and everything like that. And we could see more of like a large-scale warfare type Halo game. Those type of games are always very popular, and I feel like if you're a game producer, that might seem like a safe bet to go. For a couple of reasons. People typically have terrain for those things already, rocks and like it's easy to kind of get terrain for that going. But I feel like the smarter move here is to corner this market of spaceship games, and Mantic is no stranger to spaceship games. Mantic has made Armada, not Star Wars Armada, but a fleet-based, a boat-based Armada game that. So they're already familiar with that, and kind of how Flashpoint was kind of like almost like a reskinning of one of their other games. I could see them possibly trying to modify a rule set for a naval game and turning that into a space game, because frankly, spaceship games are naval games. Spaceship games are not usually played in a true 3D plane. I have ideas to how to do that, and some people have tried to do that, and they sometimes don't work out quite so well as they should have. So what tends to be tried and true is for spaceship games to kind of take place on a 2D plane, and that works usually pretty good for the movies, works usually pretty good for TV, and it works astoundingly well for tabletop gaming. So I do think it is possible to see something very similar to how Halo Fleet Battles, at least how it looked, and the overarching concept of taking this whole universe of ships and applying those to the tabletop. I think you'd also have very low crossover, because if you're going to do another ground battle game, well, you've already got Flashpoint, and do you really want to kind of divide your audience, or do you want to really capture, do you want those two Venn diagrams not really to overlap very much? I think that's kind of like the biggest separate circle that you can make, is just let's go straight up into space, because nothing in a space-based game would be duplicated in Halo Flashpoint. So you'd have two completely different theaters, and I think that's a really smart way to go. So if Mantic, if you're watching, I hope you're looking at doing a spaceship game. Ever since like X-Wing and Armada kind of got ended production, there's a huge hole and a huge opportunity for fleet-based games. And some companies are making spaceship games, but I don't think anybody's really cornered the market on it. And I think this is a great opportunity for somebody to come in there with a real, true spaceship war game that is kind of built towards having, fleet-on-fleet engagements, tournament play, and things that can kind of run to a recognizable standard and to a beautiful tabletop quality. And I think Mantic has a great opportunity to do that here. It's possible that something like this is already in development. It's possible that something like this might be announced in the not too distant future. And one of the things that gives me hope about this is that, Mantic had sent me a press release when it comes down to talking about this new agreement and some of the other products that they have coming out for Halo Flashpoint. I've already talked about those before, but my channel is one of those channels that covers a lot of different games, but I'm also largely known for covering games like X-Wing and Armada. And so I think a lot of my core audience is people who are interested in spaceship games. Maybe not only spaceship games, but definitely at least interested in spaceship games. And so I think it made sense that I would make a video like this. I think it's one of those things where I think they know who they're talking to. They're planting seeds in the right places, and maybe it's just to gauge interest. So I think if this is something that you want, what do we have to do about it? I think we have to tell Mantic, like, hey, please make spaceship games. I don't think they would be able to call it Halo Fleet Battles, because again, that was a different name, it was a different agreement and stuff like that. But you know what they could call it? They could call it Halo Armada. Right? Like that's a possibility. I don't know if legally they could call it that or whatever, or maybe it'd have to be called something simple like Halo Armada Fleet or Halo Flotilla or something like that. And I'm curious what scale it would be at. If you're looking at like 4 ships versus 4 ships, or are you going to be seeing like more than 4 on 4 at a time, or we're going to be looking at like 8 and 12 ship fleets and larger things like this. And if really large fleet engagements are possible, I think that's a great way to go. That can be really, really fun, especially just the visual aspect of having a massive fleet kind of form up and face off against another massive fleet would be a really fun way to go. And I think that's something that like X-Wing and Armada never really captured as well, at least in their standard play. The norm is usually somewhere around 4 ships versus 4 ships, or 3 to 5, right? 3 to 5 versus 3 to 5 is pretty typical in those games. So I'd love, like Drop Fleet Commander has a great way to kind of deal with larger fleets and how you activate them in bulk, right? Like this whole group is going to activate at once, boom. And I think more and more games are kind of catching on to that mindset. Star Wars Legion has something like that with Full Scale War. Mantic maybe could do something like that with Halo to give us larger fleets that activate as groups, and so it doesn't take 7 hours to play one game. If you can get gameplay down to like an hour to an hour and a half, I think you definitely have something that could work in a tournament setting. And bonus points if it can play on a 3x3 or similar size mat. I don't want to have to buy some weird like 3.5 times 2 3/4 size mat. You know, give me standard mats too. Like, again, I have a whole wish list for things that I'd love to see in a fleet game. But for right now, I'd be happy to find out that just something like that is coming. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. That's going to do it for today's video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts. Jump into our Discord. Check the social media links and Patreon if you're interested. Check us out down in the links in the video description below. That's going to do it for today's video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys, absolute superstars. Thank you so much for your continued support. I will talk to you later. May the force be with you and live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. And always wash your socks.